Okay. Chapter 12. Abigail sat on the trunk of the old dead apple tree, thinking. Stop. In front of her, pretty Polly and her 3 remaining children scratched and pecked for a handful of corn that Abigail had thrown into the long grass. Polly was in her farmyard noise imitation mood, bleating or grunting or mooing as she found each grain, but the 3 pullets now just clucked. 6 months old now, thought Abigail, and not one of the baker's dozen has ever uttered a word. Perhaps it was because there were so many of them that I couldn't teach them anything, but now there are only 3, maybe I'll be able to get through to them. And they're females too. Abigail did not actually consider that girls were more intelligent than boys. Quieter, perhaps, and more helpful in the classroom, and not always fighting or showing off. But there was no doubt that, in general, female creatures were cleverer than males when you thought about it. They could do so many things that males couldn't, like having babies and having milk to feed them with, and in the case of the birds, being able to lay eggs. You jolly well ought to be able to talk, she said to the 3 pullets. Shouldn't they, Polly? Eat Weetabix, said Polly. Clever girl, said Abigail. Of course. That's what I started you on, wasn't it? I should have remembered. And she spent the next hour doling out more corn, a few grains at a time, and repeating, eat a Weetabix, over and over again. But the pullets only clucked. Each of the 3 sisters was different. One was white, one was brown, and one was exactly the colour of her grandmother she had never known, not barred with black and silver like Polly, but speckled, her grey feathers covered in a host of rusty brown spots. There was something in the look of this last bird that made Abigail feel she was probably the most intelligent of the 3. She seemed to be paying attention to Abigail's instructions about eating Weetabix, while the other 2 did not. And occasionally she made a noise that was different from theirs. It was still a chicken noise, but a distinctive one. It sounded like chuck. Abigail came to a decision. The smaller the class, the better results the teacher should expect to get. And surely there was nothing to beat a 1-to-1 relationship. There you go. From now on, she would concentrate all her efforts on the speckled pullet. Like their mother, the 3 pullets were very tame and would come running when Polly's name was called and allow themselves to be petted or picked up, in a way the rest of the flock would not tolerate. But if the speckled pullet was to be privately tutored, she must have a name of her own and be trained to answer it. What should it be? Abigail was considering the matter when she heard her mother calling. Abby, where are you? Here, she shouted. Her mother appeared at the orchard gate. Oh, are you tired? Quick, she called. You're wanted on the telephone. Abigail ran towards her, feeling distinctly alarmed. Who could it possibly be? She hated answering the phone anyway, and if it rang when her parents were not handy, she'd leave it to Prudence, who was bossy and nosy and liked to speak, or even Bob, who loved to pick up the receiver. He always said the same thing, very loudly, in case this person was a long way away, which was, This is Bob Brown, and what do you want anyway? Who is it? She said as she reached her mother. I don't know. A man with a rather plummy voice asking for Miss Abigail Brown. Inside the house, Abigail took up the receiver gingerly, as though it were a poisonous snake. Hello, she said nervously. Miss Abigail Brown, said the plummy voice. Yes. Ah, good morning, miss. This is Sevenside Cast speaking. For a moment, the form of words meant nothing to Abigail, and then she thought, doesn't sound much like him, but it must be the Duke ringing up. What do I call him? All she could think to say off was, Oh, hello, how are you? So she did. In excellent health, I thank you, miss, said the voice, sounding now both plummy and amused. This is the Duke of Seven's butler speaking. Oh, said Abigail. His Grace would like a word with you, miss. Would you be good enough to hold the line one moment? Oh, said Abigail, yes. There was a pause, and then a familiar clipped voice said, Hello, Abigail? Yes. Charlie Seven here. How are you? Fine, thanks. Good, splendid. And how's Polly? She's fine. Still talking? Is she? Haha. Yes. Remarkable, that act of yours. Haven't been able to get it out of my head. Which is why I'm ringing up, Abigail. I have a favour to ask of you. I mean, you'll have to consult your parents about this, of course. But I've been wondering. Think I told you when we met how keen I've always been on ventriloquism? Never was any good at it, but of course, been never been properly taught, have I? I wonder, would you consider giving me lessons? I would pay you for your time and trouble, of course. Oh, said Abigail. Oh, help, she thought. What can I say? I can't give him lessons in something that I can't do. Tell you what, said the Duke. Suppose I just pop over in the old Land Rover. I'll make sure she's got a full tank this time. And we can have a chat about it. What? Saturday morning suit you? Won't be at school then, will you? No. So that will be all right, will it? Yes. Splendid, said the Duke. By Jove, I can't wait to start learning that trick of yours. said Abigail later, when she had reported the conversation to the family. He's coming this Saturday, did you say? Her mother asked. Yes. Well, you'll have to make a clean breast of it, her father said. No good going on pretending. Anyway, it wouldn't be fair to anyone. Doesn't matter if it's a duke or dustman. What's a duke? Bob said. A nobleman. Are you a nobleman, Daddy? The farmer laughed. No, he said. I'm a commoner. Commoner than who? Bob said. Daddy just means he's an ordinary person, said Mrs. Brown. He's not, said Bob. He's bester. He means he's like everybody else. Dukes aren't ordinary. Well, how do you get to be a duke? Asked Prudence. You have to be the eldest son of a previous duke, said her father. And then when your father dies, you become the next duke. If I was the first Duke of Brown, then when I died, Bob would become the second Duke of Brown. Bob looked pleased at the idea. That's not fair, said Prudence. He's younger than me. Oh, for goodness sake, said Abigail. I still don't know what I'm going to say to him on Saturday. Always tell the truth, said her mother. You can't do better. You'll feel better for it too, her father said. After all, we did play a bit of a trick on the old chap, didn't we? For the 3 days that remained before Saturday, Abigail worried. She worried about having tricked the Duke because she rather liked him. She worried that once he knew Polly's secret, everyone would know. And she worried because she didn't know what to call him. This third worry, however, served to put an end to a fourth one, what to call Polly's speckled pullet. That butler called him His Grace, she said to her. What am I going to call you? Chook, said the speckled pullet. I know, said Abigail. You shall be my Grace. She was, in fact, in the middle of giving Grace a lesson in the stable when, on Saturday morning, the Land Rover drew up outside. Abigail had chosen the stable as the classroom for Grace's private tuition, simply because Polly still would not set foot in it, which was convenient because it meant lessons could go on without continual interruptions. Abigail picked Grace up and came to the stable doorway to see the Duke of Severn getting out. He was wearing exactly the same strange old-fashioned clothes as before, except that instead of his previous squashy tweed hat, he had on a brown bowler. Abigail, he cried, sweeping it off and giving a little bow. Good morning. Who's that you've got with you? Doesn't look like Polly. Different colour. What's this one's name? Grace. Abigail. This is my Grace. Your Grace. The Duke's long face broke into its slow smile. I think I see what you mean, he said. But look, don't call me your Grace, eh? Well, what should I call you? Said Abigail. Call me Charlie. That's my name. Don't think I could, said Abigail. Oh well, just call me Duke, said the Duke. Is that all right? Yes, Duke. So you're Grace, said the Duke of Severn, stroking the pullet's speckled back. Any relation to Polly? Yes, said Abigail. She's Polly's daughter. You needn't have told me yourself, Abigail, said the Duke. You could have thrown your voice and made Grace tell me. I couldn't, said Abigail. Why not? Abigail gulped, and then, all in a rush, she said, Because I can't throw my voice, Duke. I'm not a ventriloquist at all, you see. You just thought I was when you saw me with Polly, and I let you go on thinking that because I didn't want you to know Polly's secret. Which is? She can talk. She really can talk. Well, that's what your little brother Bob said. Yes, she talks just like a parrot, you see. Only more than any parrot, I expect, because I've taught her so many things. But it's not me that's clever, it's Polly, and that's why I can't give you lessons, Duke, and that's the truth. Always tell the truth, the Duke said. You can't do better. Well, that's what Mum said. Your mother is right, said the Duke, and I understand everything you're telling me. Though I can't quite take it in, don't you know? A hen, talking like a parrot, quite remarkable. Any chance you could get Grace's mother to demonstrate this gift of hers for me? I expect so, said Abigail. She's probably out in the orchard. I'll just have a look. Still carrying Grace, she went back into the stable. In its rear wall there was a small window, a barred window without any glass in it, which looked directly out into the orchard. After peeping through it, Abigail called to the Duke. Yes, she's out there, with Galahad. Who's Galahad? Her husband. Grace's father? Yes, come and listen. She's sure to say something soon. So they stood at the window and looked out and listened. It was a fine still morning, the kind where sound travels from a long way away, and they could clearly hear all the noises of the farm, and in particular the comfortable chuckling and clucking of the flock as they foraged in the orchard grass. Then Galahad leapt upon the apple trunk. Listen, whispered Abigail, that's his special crowing place, and Polly always says something when he crows, though it won't make any sense. And sure enough, Galahad flapped his wings and stretched his neck, and, looking proudly round his domain, cried his loud, challenging call. As the echoes died away, Abigail, how do you do? Nice to meet you. Mind how you go? Good night, shouted pretty Polly. Remarkable, said the Duke of Severn. Never have believed it. And she can say other things too, Abigail? Yes, Duke, loads of things. And what about your Grace here? You training her too? Yes, but I'm not having any luck. Doesn't she say anything? No, she does make one noise, but that's a bit different from her two sisters. But it's not a real word. I'll see if I can get her to say it now. She put Grace down on the stable floor and said, "Come on, Grace, say something for our visitor." The speckled pullet looked up at the tall, thin figure in Norfolk jacket and knickerbockers with a bright, considering eye. Then, loudly and clearly, she said, "Chook." "Not a real word, you say?" said the "Not a real word, you say?" said the Duke of Seven. "Why, she actually said my title." Sounds like Duke. Duke.